So we're going to be looking at 5 players who we think are going to be the most important players for Roberto De Zerbi going into next season. And the one that really sticks out to me is Pedro Porro. After such a big World Cup, could get even bigger this weekend. Such a phenomenal player, been misused by Thomas Frank last season. He has got the traits that De Zerbi looks for in a fullback. He's elite in terms of his numbers, or not in numbers, but going forward and what he can bring to you on the ball. I think he's getting better and better off the ball as his career goes on. So I think, you're looking at Pedro Porro, and De Zerbi is just going to love him next season.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he's been so important in previous years in our build-up, Pedro Porro. And because he's one of the only players, in our squad for previous years that's been so great on the ball and that elite quality when it comes to his ability to play out from the back and his passing range. And we're seeing that for Spain, what a difference he makes and how good he can be. And I think he's been so misused. What I would say about Porro is now we do have Van Hecke, we have Senesi, we have Tonali, we have Fernandes. Hopefully the focus on Porro doing all that kind of build-up stuff to the extent he was, in terms of the reliance on him we had. It felt like under Ange and under Frank, it was like during build-up, find Porro and then just hope he can do something good. And hopefully it won't be that. But I still think him playing that inverted fullback role is going to cause a lot of problems for oppositions, because having someone he's going to be the extra man a lot of the time, and having someone of his ability, always being the free man and always having that ability to find runners in behind and that kind of stuff. I think he's going to be so crucial, and you're seeing what crucial player he's been for Spain this summer, and I think De Zerbi is going to use him correctly. And we're already seeing improvements last season when De Zerbi came in, and I think that's going to go up tenfold. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many easy options that you can go for. You go for Mickey van der Ven, you can go for Tonali, you can go for Mateus Fernandes. All these players are going to be our most important players next season, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're looking at them.
I think one who's going to be, depending on how good he's going to be Maddison. I think, obviously, he's been out with an ACL, but he is probably still right now, when it comes to in and around the box. At the time of recording, we don't know who we're going to sign, in the forward line and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to in and around the box, he's still got the best vision for me in the squad. He's still got the one player in the squad right now who's got that ability to, pick the lock or, get a goal from 25 yards, all that kind of stuff when he's at his best. He's still the person who needs to play together at its most. And I know we've got Fernandes and Tonali, and they should really help progressing the ball, and they should really help finding Maddison in those positions a lot more often than our other midfielders. So hopefully we see a lot more of Maddison. But I think if Maddison isn't kind of at his best, we will be a worse team for it. Unless we sign, obviously, other players who can compensate. But I still think he's going to be the central hub to our attack, James Maddison. And he's going to be so crucial. And he's going to be the kind of perfect De Zerbi kind of player, because he's got quick thinking. He can see the pass before anyone else. And he's going to have options now around him, and he's not going to be isolated like he's been in other scenarios.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be so crucial.
You even saw it when he came back last season, how important. Even if he wasn't incredible and didn't have fantastic performances, you could just see the authority that he commands on the pitch when he was there.
He was playing at 50%. He was still probably our best player on the ball.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
It was mad.
So, I completely agree with that. And I do feel like without James Maddison, there's a massive creative void in this squad still. So we need him back to his best. And, he'd have pre-season to get back there. The games at the back end of last season would have done him the world of good as well. So hopefully James Maddison can back to it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him in pre-season, if he's flying, if he's full of confidence in his own body, and if he's ready to go, or if he's still kind of feeling his way through the injury and stuff like that. Obviously, it's you wouldn't blame him after coming off an ACL. It takes a bit of time, but it'd be interesting to see what kind of level he's at when he's at pre-season, because sometimes you come into pre-season and you're just flying and you're raring to go, and if he's in that kind of form, that'll be so exciting.
Yeah, so we got Porro, we got Madders. Next one's got to be Mohamed Kudus.
Yeah.
Mohamed Kudus out for half a season last year. First year, again, he was our best attacker, but he was so misused by Thomas Frank. Basically, our tactics was get it to Mohamed Kudus and inshallah, basically. You know what I mean? So next year, De Zerbi is going to have a proper plan for him. I think he would have been working in his head how to use Kudus at the back end of last season when he thought he was going to come in. He already mentioned how much of a big player he thinks Kudus can be for him. And I think you're going to see such levels from Mohamed Kudus next season, thanks to Roberto De Zerbi and how he's going to utilise him. So I think he's going to proper unlock Kudus next season.
Yeah, I think Kudus is a massive player. It's not just his incredible dribbling ability, but it's his strength, it's his ability to hold players off, it's his ability to open up space because he drags players towards him, he invites players to close him down, and you need to double up on him. And if we can force oppositions to do that and then open up the spaces for the likes of Maddison, Tonali and other players in the central areas, that's exactly how De Zerbi ball can be at its fullest. And I think Mohamed Kudus is going to be such an important player for Roberto De Zerbi. Right now, he's obviously our best winger. I think he's going to enjoy kind of what he can do with Kudus. I think most games he'll be out wide, but maybe there'll be some games he'll play centrally and try and get a tactical advantage that way. There might have been some games he'll play up front. There'll be some times he'll play off the left. I think most of the times he'll play off the right, and he'll be able to be that two-way winger that De Zerbi absolutely loves to play with. And you've seen that at Brighton, what he can do with these wingers. And I think Kudus is such a kind of unique kind of winger in terms of his strength and his dribbling ability, and he's got a good ability to create chances. Obviously, we all want him to up his output and his decision making, and I think the difference now is he's going to have players around him. He's going to have options to play with. He's going to have maybe combinations. I think last season he just didn't have anyone near him, and he had to do everything himself, and it was either he did something himself or we didn't create a chance, and he felt that responsibility. It felt there were some times where he even had options and he just ignored them because he felt this responsibility to do it all himself.
Yeah.
So if De Zerbi can really work on,
he's going to refine his game.
Yeah, refining him, making sure that when he has options he uses them. I think there's going to be no stopping Kudus next season.
Can't agree more. I guess the number 4, you got to give it to the Dutch Wall. Like, put both of them in one, because I think you're looking at a partnership there that could really blossom in Mickey van der Ven and Jan-Paul van Hecke. But he's already said that he thinks Mickey van der Ven is the best left centre back in the league. Van Hecke is basically like his son, so the reports suggest. So I think these two together, they could be the yin to each other's yang. Both of them have different traits. Both of them excel at their traits, and they both have such different ones as well. So I think what Van der Ven isn't so great at, Van Hecke can cover for, and what Van Hecke isn't so great at, Mickey van der Ven will be there to back him up. So I think both these guys, they're going to be that kind of rock, that base at the back for us to go and move forward and do what we need to do.
100%. And I think we're going to see the return of the high line. We're going to see the return of aggressive kind of putting pressure on the opposition, and that's going to mean we're going to need Van der Ven even more in those kind of recovery runs as we have.
Hamstrings next season.
Yeah, hopefully he's kind of refined his running style and all that kind of stuff that's hopefully helped him. Obviously, last season he did benefit in a way from not having to do too much of that, and we saw a better Van der Ven, but then on the flip side, it seemed like Van der Ven wasn't enjoying his football as much, and he was kind of playing the football he didn't like, even though we will maybe seeing him less exposed and we're seeing him be better in a way. So I think he would have benefited from that experience, but I think him and Van Hecke, 100%. Van Hecke is obviously not as fast as Van der Ven, but they're both tall, they're both strong, and I think we know Van Hecke, his ability passing in between the lines, that progressive passing, that ability to find teammates in between the lines, coupled with the fact we've got Van der Ven being that safety net that we all know within De Zerbi's system. I think they're both going to be so crucial, and I think that's a partnership you think is made in heaven.
Yeah, I completely agree. Do you think, because we always said that about Van der Ven and Romero, they're both so complementary of each other. Who, as a partnership, who do you think is going to be more complementary of each other, the Van der Ven and Van Hecke, or Romero and Van der Ven?
Tough to say. I think Romero's a bit more aggressive than Van Hecke. So maybe you could argue Van Hecke might not leave Van de Ven as exposed as Romero sometimes
Still incredibly aggressive though, Van Hecke, isn't he?
He is. It's tough to say. Maybe in terms of just purely footballing wise, not in terms of, you know, Romero's unavailability through suspension, injury, all that kind of stuff, taking that out of it, I think our record with Romero and Van de Ven was still pretty good, even when they were just, if you look at our results when them two were on the pitch. So I don't know, probably it's tough to say. I'll go with Van Hecke. I'll be positive. Van Hecke and Van de Ven.
And the last one, I guess you've got to give it to the new midfield signings. That's going to really, I know it's, again, 2 players. It's kind of cheating. But both of these two together are a bit similar to like Van de Ven and Van Hecke. They're both going to have the traits to work with each other so well. You know, Tonali being the kind of engine, Mateus Fernandes being the passer and being able to progress the ball. I guess they can both progress it, but Mateus is, you know, more of a specialist in it than Tonali maybe. But I think both these players, both having great engine, by the way, both having such great traits that can really revolutionise the midfield. And it's like traits that we've been missing in that midfield for so long.
100%. I think it's going to be so nice to see 2 midfielders comfortable on the ball in the centre of our midfield for the first time, which seems like ages. I think that's going to completely change how we play against oppositions. I think for the last year especially, we've pretty much been bypassing midfield because either we don't trust them or we just, that's not how we played, with Frank. We would be only playing out wide, so focused on building out wide. So finally we have Fernandes and we've got Tonali, our 2 players really comfortable in possession, really comfortable not phased by players pressing them, confident picking passes in between the lines, confident carrying the ball forward, and as well more comfortable in the final third if they do tend to pick up the ball in those areas. So it's going to be a completely different look to our midfield, and I don't know if the Tottenham fans are ready for it yet. I don't know if they know what they're going to get.
They are ready. They were born ready, the Tottenham fans.
Because it's going to be a completely different kind of look to our midfield, and when we've been so not used to playing through the middle, starved of central progression, and it's going to be a completely different look.
You know what the first game with them is going to be like? It's going to be like Kinski's first game.
Yeah.
Remember when Kinski against Liverpool, everyone was like, wow, we've got a goalkeeper that can actually pass it, you know, that cup game against Liverpool. Yeah. So, like, when it gets to Brentford away, come the first game of the season, and we see these two playing with each other and them actually progressing the ball, and it's going to be like, wow, what have we actually got here?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to be amazed by it.
Yeah. So, look, we cheated a little bit. Instead of 5 players, what did we do? We did 8 players, 9, 10 players.
No, you don't have to remind me.
A lot of players. So basically the whole team is the most important players for next season. So let us know in the comment section below, did we miss anyone out? And if we did, let us know who they are.